for long-time WWF fans, Bobby Heenan was the guy doing commentary for Superstars or wrestling challenges on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. But yet here you are, new face, and boom, Bobby's on the outs. You brought up Bobby was very welcoming. On TV, I imagine, he's thinking, well, is this my spot being stolen by someone else? Is this going to be a new thing where I'm just going to be like the butt of the joke and Rob gets everything going? That wasn't the case at all for you two?
No, not in real life. I mean, that might have been what Vince was trying to suggest, because I'm sure Vince was one of the ones who came up with the idea of doing that, of isolating Bobby in favor of me. And I think that the idea was that we would kind of go at each other to the point where, and Bobby was so nice to me that when we actually did eventually work together in that one show when I played Vince McMahon, he wasn't nasty to me on the air. He wasn't, because in a way, he was enjoying me getting on Vince, because that's not something that he could ever really do, Right. But he was as supportive as anyone could be, and he actually played into it. He referred to me as Vince McMahon. He didn't try to break my character. He kind of used that improvisation rule of yes and. It's like never negate anything. You got to go with it. Which is why I say he could have been a stand-up, and he could have been a comedy team with Gorilla. I mean, the chemistry between the two of them, and Heenan was a really, really funny guy. He had a great sense of humor. He had a silly center. He liked to play pranks and jokes on people, and just a great guy.
Good to hear, because you've heard stories over the years of wrestlers in wrestling. You always hear, well, the outsider's here and he's going to take my spot, take food off my table, take food out of my children's mouths. And yet, clearly, Bobby Heenan was the person we all have heard stories of over the years. Super nice person.
Yeah, and I don't know. There may have been, animosity between wrestlers themselves. I was never witness to any of that, but I'm sure, like anything else, you want to be the favorite child, and when someone else gets more attention for a little bit, you got to feel it's a sibling rivalry for sure. Right. So, excuse me. But I don't think Bobby was smart enough to know that I was not a threat. Nobody was going to be taking anything away from him. And he was up for anything. He would do whatever he could to make a story or a joke work. I mean, he dressed up in drag, for crying out loud.
He did everything.
And a rabbi, I mean, he went the distance. There was nothing he wouldn't do, if he thought that it was going to be good for the show.
Wait a minute. That wasn't Bobby Heenan in drag. That was his aunt, and that was his rabbi. I don't know what you're trying to pull here, Rob, on me, but that wasn't Bobby.
Vince, for whatever reason, and I don't know why this is, Vince was convinced I was Jewish, and that's why he had Heenan dressed as Jewish. I don't think he just assumed that all stand-up comedians are Jewish, but whenever I've done any, most of the time in acting, I get cast as, the heavy set character, normally a Jewish guy. I mean, I was Mr. Mushnick in Little Shop of Horrors, and I was the guy who owned the dance hall in Sweet Charity, and all these parts that Stubby K would have, or what's that other guy? There's another character actor who played those kinds of parts all the time. So maybe that, like a Catholic schoolboy from Brooklyn and then Long Island. So the fact that I played these Jewish characters. When I was in Law and Order SVU, I was Milton Schoenfeld. When I was on The Good Wife, it was Bukovitz. So
wow.
The only time I did a Jewish guy was when I was on the last season of Elementary. I got to play police captain who was filling in for Aidan Quinn, because Aidan Quinn had gotten shot in the storyline, and so for a couple of episodes I ran the precinct, and I was what's his name? Oh, Dwyer. Bill Dwyer, Captain Bill Dwyer. That was the only time, they cast me as an Irish cop rather than a Jewish cop.
So Vince set you down a path. Vince is the one who made Hollywood believe that you were Jewish.
Basically, he set up I actually owe him for that. He set up my my film and TV, and
Outstanding to hear. Though there were pay-per-views at the time while you were there, but there weren't many. There was like 4 a year. They added 5 in 1994. But were there ever conversations of adding you to other commentary? Because again, there's Superstars, there's Wrestling Challenges on Saturdays, there's pay-per-views. Those are on Sundays. You could have been around for Royal Rumble 93 and WrestleMania 9, which is in Caesar's Palace. So you were around, but was there ever discussion, or you're going to be this guy on Monday Night Raw because it's going to be Raw, so we need Rob Bartlett to do that?
No, no, there was never any talk of me going anywhere else but the Manhattan Center and once a month, the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, because I think it was clear that the little control they had over me in town, there'd be no control over me if we were out on the road. So, and I think when it was a pay-per-view event, I think people were actually paying, reaching into their pockets. He didn't want to do anything to make them want to have their money given back, So, so I was on free TV. I was on USA Network because they weren't paying for that. But the pay-per-views never happened. Although Kevin Dunn, the producer, now he's a vice president. He's gone up.
Oh, he's up there. He is up there. Yeah,
the big time guy. He's another terrific guy. He was kind of like my liaison. Vince would tell him to arrange for whatever, or give me the heads up of what was happening. If it wasn't by Vince at the actual venue, Kevin would talk, and Kevin would send me tapes of the shows every week to watch. So I have this whole library of these tapes. It's just without the commercials, but it's just everything that we shot. And he wanted to develop other things. He wanted to go in a direction that was using the wrestlers as something else. Like he wanted a wrestling sitcom. And so I wrote a pilot for him called The Turnbuckles, which was about a family of wrestlers. And, the bed was a ring, in the master bedroom, the bed was a ring. And then I had written a treatment for a Saturday Night Live type show, which would be sketches featuring all the different wrestlers. It was a Cadillac, or it was some car company that had a commercial where they rolled a ball bearing down, and it kind of went all over the contours of the car. And I wrote a sketch for Yokozuna where I had the ball bearing going all around him, and on and down, and it slipped down the back of his diaper, as I used to call it. And then that would make him go like this and charge. So it was like, and so I was gonna have somebody else jump on his back when that happened, and then he could carry him. Well, stupid, like a cross between Laugh-In and Saturday Night Live. And when I called Kevin to say, that I thought it was probably in everyone's better interest that I leave the show, he was really disappointed. He was like, "Oh no, man! I wanted to do the sitcom. I wanted to." He was very sorry to see me go. He didn't want me to leave, but I just kind of felt that it was in everybody's best interest that I take my leave.